official vibing live stream, but I think fans for might not actually have full context on what we're doing now. Anyway, so we can give them full context.
Yeah, just tell me whatever, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are. Well, first of all, yeah, I'm Pat. It's nice to meet you, Francois.
Nice to meet you.
We're yeah. Just to give you a little context, we're building Vibin. It's a social platform for AI builders, and we're starting to talk to people in the space about how they got into building, what they're working on, what they're kind of learning along the way, with the goal being make it less intimidating for folks to like get into space, start building with AI, whatever they need to do, and yeah, would love to just start, hear more about your background, maybe tell us a bit about who you are, and then we can talk like more specifics around what you're building and everything.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll start back when I was a kid. I mean, I'm Canadian. I grew up in this like little island in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing to do. Like my parents were also like sort of hippies. Like we weren't allowed to watch TV. There was a lot of like sitting around reading a shit ton, drawing a lot. And so I became like really into drawing. And eventually I had access to computer and I was really obsessed because I was sort of like not allowed to. So it was kind of like, you know, whatever, forbidden. So, I mean, I was always like good at math, I guess, since I was young. Like I skipped a couple grades early. So my identity was like, I'm a math guy. I like science and all that. So, but I was like in love with sort of both like creativity and like, I guess creativity is like a big theme in my, especially my childhood, like imagination and like, love cartoons. Like basically I've always loved just like all the forms of creativity. But I was obsessed with video games. Again, wasn't really allowed to, so I was kind of obsessed with them. So I would like play at friends' houses all the time that were unstrict. Regardless, I basically spent more of my childhood like not coding. Like I didn't really come to coding until I was like late, like 18 maybe. I like use computers super heavily though, like using video editors, and I did scripting type things for like, you know, I'm 46 now. So my early computing was like the first Mac was the first time there was like a GUI at all. And that was like my, I guess, real computer that made me like come to life on being really into computers as a creative tool. And there was something about like, you know, I spent my whole life up to that point drawing and being like, I love this. And then all of a sudden I could like magic paint. I was like, instead of having to color in, I could just be like, boop. And like my head, because I was young and creative, I was like, oh, it's like little nanobots that come out and go, and they like fill it up for you. Anyway, so yeah, but then, you know, eventually I had to go to university and I like toured and got a whatever scholarship and got like accepted to all the good schools. But at the last minute, like computer science is basically what I went into. My parents didn't go to university, so I kind of was just like, oh, I'm going to university. I didn't have any idea like about the entire process. But at the last minute, I found out about a video game programming school, and I went to that instead. Called DigiPen, that was started by Nintendo's R&D division. They just like started their own school. So I basically went and made video games for 10 years. That was like my first job. It was like, wow, I can make games. But eventually, like I burned out on games. The industry was just like kind of crazy for just work hours, like just especially back then. I think things have gotten a little more socially conscious around whatever grinding your employees. So then I switched to web development. So I guess like a big part of my web development like viewpoint is very much a game developer. So like I've been doing web development now probably since like 2000. It's probably almost 20 years, right? So it's like my career is, in my head, I'm almost like still a game developer because that was like my early career. But I'm really a web developer, but a web developer with that lens of like high performance matters, animation matters, 3D like direct manipulation tools matter. Like there's better tools than we use. Like web development is a shitty ecosystem for actually editing things. We make things from code, and so I feel like the web development community has always been like never really solved, and we know this because it's all anyone talks about now. We don't really solve making it easy to literally just edit a thing and say, I want the button there. We made it like super complicated. You basically have to like make a machine like with like all these rules that it grows, and you literally can't go like, I just want that to move over. It's like, yeah, no, that's like a PhD. So obviously vibe coding and Figma and like everyone's trying to solve the ease of, or sort of like the control of Figma with the, I guess, generative power of coding, and obviously AI that sort of makes it work. No one solved it yet. It's still like up there. I think that's kind of like the space that I'm interested in, obviously with the product I'm doing, which is like how you have that sort of power of code with the preciseness of design tools. Yeah, I guess my career, a lot of it since getting from games, in games, it was I made dev tools and creative tools. So I made like the level editors, I made the UI tools. So I've basically always worked on internal tools originally at companies, because game studios back then, there wasn't like Unities. Everyone rolled their own. Like I made basically making Figma was my first job at like 18. I just made Figma. I had to make like the runtime, I had to make the editor, I had to do all that stuff, rendering system. And at first I hated it. I thought it was like a low status work. I'm like, oh, I'm making UI. Like I want to be a physics programmer and like a 3D programmer and all that. Because that was my passion in school. Was like I was known as like, I guess, top of class at 3D graphics. And then I kind of got forced for 3 years because I was junior to do UI, and then was like, holy shit, this is like way more interesting than that. Yeah, so I guess for the next 7 years, I made a lot of creative tools. And so that's my lens on, I guess, development in general, is working with designers or programmers to be like, what is creativity and how do you digitize it, right?
Sure.
And I've always wanted like to be able, I'm like a drawer. I grew up being a drawer. I've always wanted to just, I love literally doodling. I'm like, why can't I just be like doodling on like paper? Like when I used to do math in school, right? You just like, there's math, but I'm just like making funny pictures on the side and I'm getting good grades because that helps me focus, or it just makes it fun. So I've always wished the interface to like creativity was drawing, basically, and it's just never been that. You get the iPad, you get all that. But like now with AI, I really feel like you can literally have like magic paper. You can just doodle on paper, and that idea can just like walk along and like jump into a computer and become, right. And like I've obviously matured. I don't just use paper to think. I use paper, I use writing, I use whatever. But I guess in a way, my company is kind of going from like a paper first aesthetic and passion to being pragmatic and going, okay, starting from there, basically. Like, so it's like an infinite canvas. Drawing is a big part of it. Spatial organization is a big part of it. Like what I like about paper isn't just drawing. I like the fact you can like, do like in the movies, the detectives put like all the pictures up there and they have like lines connecting everything. Like I think there's just a large scale of problems that humans can't. They always go to visual tools for actually understanding. I want to be like that of the AI, generative AI. Like I want to be the Apple of visual communication. Whatever. I started a company last year. Finally, I worked on my product on the side, even before the generative AI stuff blew up. And then when it blew up, I was really like, okay, time to do this idea. And especially because I was ahead of the curve. So I raised just enough to get like another person. I've been full-time since May. I guess I feel like we're skipping over a lot of stuff, but I think it's enough context for probably what you want to talk about, which is more like modern context. Like, so what are we doing now? Like, what's going on? What do we do with the industry? What problems are people solving or struggling with, and all that? And so, I don't know if you want to guide the conversation more than that. Like,
yeah,
I'll volley back to you.
No, that's super helpful background. What an interesting trajectory you've been on with all of this. And I'm sure, wow, to have built Figma at 18 and then now to have come back into it, or with AI progressing the way it is, it's like, oh wow. I mean,
I feel like I'm going back to my
your roots.
It's
yeah,
like 20 years of baking, and then now it's like, okay, my magnum opus time. Like I've been doing this for 20 years. What's my philosophy of programming? How do I codify that?
Exactly. Yeah, and even with the game development background, where I was just previewing Decode a little bit, but it's got that gamification feel, and exactly what you're talking about with this kind of infinite canvas. Very cool. So what are you focused on now with Decode? Because like you said, it just probably that November, fall of last year, it really started to take off. Where are you guys focusing on now? What kind of challenges you're running into? How are you pushing through?
Yeah, so like basically the kind of like the life cycle of the product is we're kind of like on product version 3 right now. So I think for me, last year I finally got to work on it full time. So we spent a lot of time being like, okay, were we actually making the right thing? Blah, blah, blah. And we started off as a VS Code extension because my thinking at the time was like, well, let's not get caught up in all the table stakes of making like IDE features, like navigating through code. We were actually more for being able to draw and explain code bases. So you can like draw code, you could drop code editors onto canvases. You could still do all the stuff like draw a wireframe and it would generate code, but it was very heavily about understanding code. But it didn't look like one that was gonna be very fundable because everyone was basically saying humans won't have to understand anything anymore. So like you're not solving a real problem. I didn't believe that per se, but I was like, fine, because I do think eventually that's true, but not like I want to make a tool people use now and then grow with the technology curve. And I think the zeitgeist now still is like, okay, no, seriously, you don't have to understand the code. But like, if you actually talk to like mature, smart people, they're like, it's a shit show out there, man. Like you got this all this like so much fear of being slow. So everyone's just like vibe coding, and they're like, I'm going slow, so I can't review because that's just making me slow. And like I don't know if you saw a post recently by Dax, the guy who does open code. But he really put out a post that really was like exactly what I feel talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about? The post he just did?
I know what you're talking about. I saw you retweeted it, right?
Yeah, I think the point he's kind of making is like, I think, and this is the thing, I'm suffering super hard from his point. Like I agree with him, yet I'm totally not internalizing it and actually doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. So this
like,
is about the feature builds, right? Where he mentioned how,
it's basically just like it's become so easy to make things that you keep making features that wouldn't make the bar before. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that was one of the points. I'm actually forgetting that, but that was one of the core points I think that was more important. I think less zoned in by people is, and this is a big part that resonates with me, is I feel like I spent a lot of time on things last year and side quests. I'm like, oh, it'd be pretty cool if we did that. It's not that hard because AI. And so we would do it. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you add more, it still divides your time, right? So like you can go faster, and now it's just like harder to, it used to be like the activation energy was like higher, right? Like the bar to like be like, I'm going to bother to do this. And now it's like, I keep thinking this thought, I should just like fire up a chat and just like do it. And then you go like, I rationalize this. So I think a big thing that happened for me was, okay, last year we pivoted. So it took like, it was like May before I quit my job in like February. I went through the BetaWorks program. So I didn't really like get to, a lot of it was just like thinking about market. Was only me still. I hadn't like hired. I was still like raising money. So I feel like I didn't really get to like hard going at it programming until like May. And then my big thought was like, okay, forget the IDE. We need to go be a like full out standalone app. The IDE is not going to matter. We actually don't need the IDE to survive. Like I think we're comfortable with the fact you could probably just draw and you could probably just not look at code at all. And if you need to, we just make it fast to click and go open the code, which has been proved out by Conductor, where like in Conductor for a long time, it was very popular, and you basically stayed in Conductor talking, and eventually, occasionally you go review the code. So we knew that the like amount of time you'd spend in this like sort of not actually looking at the code mode was increasing. So it was like, okay, we agree at that insight. We'll do the same play. So like you spend more time whiteboarding to like tell the AI, like think through, sticky notes to brainstorm, maybe do some wireframing, maybe just like, diagramming, whatever, all the different tools that people use visual tools for. Tell the agents to go do it. You still don't need to go look at what they're doing. And I think a big insight at that, or pivot at that point, was like the final boss of all this stuff is like two ends of the tail. It's like telling the AI what to do and then reviewing if it did what you like. And as time's progressed now, I'm starting to be like, I don't even know if the telling people AI to do is actually the final boss. I think it's almost going to be like the AI tells you what it should do. And the only final human input is like, did you like what it did? Because that's your only final control. And that's the thing you have to like, I guess that's true. There's two extremes where people go, I don't even care to review. I only dump ideas, and then like products come out. I don't even look. It's like I go to the beach and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And like companies are started free. I don't care. Or you get the people that are like, definitely the designer and product management spectrum. They're like, no, the only thing I care about is making like awesome things. Mm-hmm. And I want awesome things that express myself. I think it's that I want to express myself, like remaining human need. Those people, the final boss for them is like, until again, AI is so much better that they don't have a choice. It's like, sorry, move over. Like it's now a hobby to do whatever, which maybe this never happens. We don't know. Yeah. Those people need reviews. So like, I think a big part we started to lean towards is like that Decode is a very strong tool for reviewing agent work, right? So like annotating and like adding comments to UIs, and with the canvas, you could see a lot more screens at once, and you basically get like a Figma level bird's eye view of products, which allows you to understand the product more. And I started to realize that we used to be about understanding code bases, and what we're actually about is understanding products. So anyone who works at a product and any sophistication doesn't even know their own product. Like maybe if you're the CEO, you've actually kept the bird's eye view. But I don't know about you, if you worked at a company, you barely know what you did a month ago. You don't know about the onboarding flow. You don't know about the setting screens. You don't know about You don't like. I worked at Descript. The code base was 7 years old. The product was 7 years old. I couldn't even slightly grasp what was happening at the company. But I think the thing was, I spent a lot of time trying to understand the code at the company. But I realized over time was like, what I really suffered from was not understanding the product. So I was not informed to make real holistic decisions because I don't understand the product. And I actually kind of think that that's actually the more thing to get right is you should understand the product. Like the product you have, step one is like, how can you make a tool that like quickly explains the product? And the best way to explain a product is to make it so you can see the product faster, right? So in our case, here's like every screen in the entire app. And make it really easy to be like, oh, I want to go try that screen, and you can like zoom in and actually interact with it. And then it's obviously layering that onto what the functions that make an app, right? The marketing that goes as inputs, where the code is related to that thing. So I guess for us, the product is the map. Everything else just hangs off that. So you work backwards from going, I understand the product. I directly now like touch and say, move that over there on the product. The product, the user interface to interact with the product is also the interface to changing the product and seeing the product. So that was kind of me going into Christmas as far as that there. Going into Christmas, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden the agents went fucking crazy, and all of a sudden everyone was making them do crazy shit. So when I went into Christmas, I was like super burnt out because I just was like doing all this work to get Decode ready for opening up to public beta, doing like actual onboarding videos and like all this work. It was taking me like weeks to get all this stuff together because Decode has a large surface area. Writing investor updates. So it was just all this stuff. So by the time I went into Christmas, because I was really trying to make it happen before Christmas, which is a very big pattern of me. It's like trying to get done before Christmas, and then I come into Christmas super stressed. So I went into Christmas be like, I'm so fucking done. So I tend to do this thing at Christmas where I do, even if I'm a workaholic, not work on my work. I work on side projects. So I went into Christmas being like, all I'm going to do is play around with the latest techniques everyone else is doing. I'm going to use their products. I'm going to mess around. And I was just like, I thought I knew what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. Like there was a huge difference between being like, yeah, that sounds promising, and then realizing like, no, holy shit, this stuff actually kind of works already. So I actually kind of went on this like two month bender practically. So I spent all of Christmas and I made 27 projects in 2 weeks. My GitHub PRs was like 200 a day instead of like 3 on average last year. And I didn't stop coding. I think 3 months straight, I didn't not code for a single day, with a higher average on the weekends when I was like sick, because I would just like put my hand on my keyboard and be like, like voice control into it. So I think that actually made me come back after Christmas and go, I'm actually going to reimagine Decode. We're going to go way bigger. So like I basically started rewriting Decode in January, and the change being like, actually whiteboards aren't like, we're thinking too small. Whiteboards are not for just talking about products. It's for like drawing how the whole organization should run. You should just like draw your idea for like a CEO agent. You should be able to draw the orchestration patterns. Like literally I want this agent, this agent, this agent, select all, go work on this. Like, so it's a surface for communicating all coding agent activities. So the boards are for like, if 10 agents are working on your UI in the background somewhere, like even not on your computer, they can be like sharing stuff onto the whiteboard so you can watch them work. The whiteboard becomes something else. It's like a visual communication medium and control center, command center. So it wasn't like we weren't going to be used for that. So we started doing all this stuff, like adding conductor-like features, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden 2 months went by and it was like, we just kept adding. So I guess the big thing for me this year is like, I definitely got like the term that's going around, agent psychosis. I got super like, holy shit, you can do anything, like, and pulled into that addiction, really. Like it felt like addiction. And then I don't know, I just suddenly too much time had passed. I had shit going on, and I just was like, okay, I step back, and I'm just like back to kicking out every feature. We're going like way leaner. We're not trying to do everything. And I think that's my big takeaway in a way, is that the two hardest things right now are to fight and find the right balance of leveraging coding agents, because I actually think probably even me, it's been net negative. It has not been an increase in productivity. It seems like one. And I've definitely, reflecting on the 27 projects I did, because I got obsessed with stuff like I made this CEO dashboard that like had analytics on my coding patterns and what I did that day and all this stuff. So I knew exactly what I did that day, and I obsessed with making it go up. But then also I stopped and I go, wait, I didn't do anything that mattered, like at all. Because the one rationalization for it was like, what I'm actually doing is practicing the life cycle of making something turn into like not existing to existing, and I'm just practicing that. But after a while, it's like, wait, I got too busy practicing and I didn't actually ship my big idea, I guess, like what I'm actually trying to bring into the world. So yeah, I guess my reflection on the last 3 months was that quarter in a way was like, I mean, it's hard to tell, did I waste a quarter or did I actually really learn something? And that's the takeaway. But I don't know is the product didn't move along as fast as I'd like, or rather it did, but I built a bunch of stuff we shouldn't have built now. We should have actually built less and got out. So I think for me, a big thing is building the right thing is like, it's going around, people talk about this. Building the right thing is the hardest thing. Like even building like that your top pillar thing, you're like, this is the most important thing. Getting that right is really hard. And then not getting pulled into side quests is like even harder, because that's what kills you from even getting done. I think basically like most people aren't actually building the right thing at all. Like their whole company idea is terrible. They're not solving a real problem. That's one problem. But I think the other one is just, it's too easy to get distracted. It's too easy to rationalize like the fear of being left behind, of not making your own like agent orchestration that's like just for your company internally. All those kind of things are just slowing you down. They're sure, some people maybe like made a tool that actually made their whole company way more productive, but most people probably made a tool that they could have downloaded from someone else. So I think that's the big thing I started to notice was like, holy shit, I can make anything. And then I started to notice everyone is also making the same things as me. We're all making word orchestrators. Like I did a lot of cool projects, and then I just stopped and I searched, and I could find a version that had just been vibe coded of every idea except for like 2. So I guess I think that's a big part, is that is those themes. It is so hard to fight it. And I think that the alpha isn't that. And I think that's why I was like, Dax's tweet is basically the thing that everyone should be going, okay, that's me. Like every single person, that's me. And you need to fucking admit it, because otherwise you're going to get spanked by like the Daxes who are doing the right balance in the world. I mean, they're literally making a coding agent all day. They know what the fuck they're talking about. They're like the extreme high pressure version of all the problems. They have a project that's like, I think 4.5 million users or something crazy all of a sudden. They've been like exponential. They're an open code project, and everyone's obsessed with open code. So their code base, their repo is like onslaughted by AI vibe coded shit. So they're dealing with like, oh, get away from me. And also like, how do we do it? And also, lots of pressure to add features from everyone, every platform, every lab. It's like, add my model, add this new feature. You should have skills built in. You should have whatever commands. Orchestration. Where's orchestration at? And so Dax is, I mean, I think they call, I'm kind of off a little bit on, I think in a way, I have been watching Dax since middle of last year and been like, that guy's basically my idol. I keep being like, what would Dax say? That just like, I kept going back to Dax a lot. I looked at, we made our own coding agent, and that company's execution, from their product thinking to how he communicates, it's just fucking impeccable. I don't know. For me, in totality, in the coding agent space, like he's him. But that's just my take. I think his advice is obviously within the context of making a product that its shtick in a competitive market is they have to have the cleanest code open source project. So like, unlike a lot of us, you're not selling clean code. Whereas when you're an open source project, you are selling clean code. That's why you use them instead of the literal 10,000 alternatives. So you got to also take that with a bit of grain of salt. But I think one of the most interesting things that is underexplored is that coding agents should actually be able to make us make the most fucking beautifully detailed things now. Like we should actually be going, instead of wide, we should be going like, holy shit, like I made the best like slider ever. Bad example, but the detailing that is cheaper, that is also what the agents are actually good at, is where you should be spending time right now. And I feel like everyone's kind of going like, no, go maniacally big in your like go galaxy brain.
Have hundreds of features. So what you're saying is focus on the core product, but the little interactions, the minutia, just perfect that.
No, I'm not quite saying that. I'm kind of saying that it's actually using agents to do way less better. I'm definitely not saying like UI polish per se. I'm saying that the agents are extremely better at less. So like if you give them a smaller task, or you keep like an important property is your product being clean conceptually, is what makes agents are actually useful at helping you maintain your concepts. So like if you look at agents and being like, you need to tell them what your philosophies are. You need to tell them what your architecture is. And if that shit's a mess, then they can't help you because they're just going to add a mess. If you basically have like clean, like 3-point philosophy, or sorry, if you're at time,
we got a couple minutes, but this is good because I was going to ask you anyway, because the audience definitely, it skews from beginner to intermediate to expert, but I think that what you're just getting at right there can be applied to anyone, even a beginner that someone can completely new to whatever we call this, AI coding, vibe coding, starting with that philosophy and that objective, exactly what you're saying. So yeah, feel free to just expand on that and we can like end it there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because I have a friend I used to work with at Bose. I worked in R&D at Bose for 3 years. He's been there for 7. He just left it, and he's a design leader. So he basically ran design for all of Bose R&D, which is about 300 people. And his whole thing is about focusing on validating ideas. So basically, like, how do you pick the right ideas? How do you validate them? And so I talk a lot with him about that. So I think there's like a whole science around going, how do you pick ideas? Like, what do you build? And I think like, and everyone's saying this right now, but again, there's a difference between saying it and actually internalizing it. Knowing what to build is the skill to make. So I think with coding agents, there's a few techniques. Not knowing how to code, you shouldn't even get distracted by that. It's like, learn to use the agents to help you think more clearly so that you make the right thing. And how do you do that? Like, one is like learning things like saying what you want. Like, not how to do it. Don't pre-feed how you want to do a thing. Say why you want to do it, say whatever, and then have the agents tell you back what they think of what you just said. It's a sparring partner for bringing clarity to your ideas, even though their ideas are kind of mundane a lot of time. Very mundane. It's basically just like a mundane generator, like very good search engine for decent ideas out there, but they're not going to be the one that tell you, no, man, that's the thing. But they are going to make you better, way better, at least making a better version of your probably shit idea. You're only going to make what you know, especially when you're younger. So I think a big thing is, if you can learn to build the right thing, and I think important, there's like that, I forgot the term, there's like that Japanese three circle thing. That one. Right? It's that. What's your AI version of that? So make sure you're building the right thing, and that you love it, and you're willing to work on it for as long as it takes to make it different and matter. So I don't know. I guess that's my thing. Is my friend's company literally started. It's called Right Thing, and it's like, that's why I was like, maybe it's a little too short and pigeon, but building the right thing is basically the only thing, because the making part is let me factor in, and the ability to sell it is but I think if you make the right thing, the selling is easy, right? People want the right thing.
Sorry guys, I posted in the chat. I think if you have time, you can stay a little bit longer. I think there are a few more questions to get through, and then we can probably clip this part. And then, I think like if you have time, Francois, I think we can stay longer for 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
But,
I missed the part where, is this a podcast? What am I being recorded? I totally missed that part.
Yeah, I think I think it's just starting with just conversations, less of a podcast. But just having conversations first. I don't know if a future iteration is. We're trying to find product market fit with these conversations ourselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a big thing. I think for like you're trying to build, you're exploring making a network of AI founders, or AI founders in particular, or just like AI builders.
Just
builders.
Maybe
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just builders.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that's some of my themes is like, find the right people to learn from is a big one for helping Signal. Ask people who their favorite person is, because following people's high signal is obviously leads to more high signal. Pick what works for you, what you're actually interested in. So, I mean, I think that's why like networks like this are interesting, is that you're more likely to discover new things, and you're going to discover things you didn't. I like a big common strategy people do incorrectly is they only see what they're looking for. And so what's good about socializing is basically you're like, why are you into that? And then you kind of go, oh wait, that's way more interesting than I thought, and you branch out. That's a big part of why I think kind of thing you're doing is important. And it's kind of the property of the network you should be creating, which is how do you help other people form connections, not just socially, but intellectually, and like create the processes and the culture to make that happen, right? Like you want people to be like, that guy like really reset me, man. Like I had a conversation with, whatever, member number 4, and I like got back to my desk that day and we just saved ourselves 3 months, right? Like you want that kind of thing.
Well, I'm telling you right now, your voice can be in the back of my head when I have my 6 terminal tabs open right now and I'm working on 10 different side projects that maybe I should
hone it in a little bit. Just ask one question. Like get that matrix out. I think the other thing that's interesting now is actually that every single like process and business theory and all these things that are developed that are like by really smart people that are really explainable, that used to be tedious. Like I don't want to put my ideas on a matrix, or I don't like following this protocol because they're rigid. That's exactly what AI is super good at, is applying these tools. You can like hit a button and be like, apply Harvard Business School protocol blah. That's like, develop the 10-point system for my idea. There's like literally PhDs on how to rapidly validate. And you can just voice control them into a box and have an AI do it back out. So I think an easy one to ruin your day is like, okay, go write down every project you're working on right now. And like even put it on that matrix of like, matters is hard, doesn't matter is easy, and just like see where ideas are, because they're probably in the bad quadrant. They're probably hard and not important, because their AI made it easy now. But it's like, great, you just worked on hard, not important. Because even if you're 10 times faster, and you're wasting time on the wrong thing.
Really, really well put. Okay, I'll close out with the final question. I think you alluded to this a little bit, but just for someone who's watching, like, you have a ton of development experience. You've been in this all your life. You've always been a tinkerer. But for someone watching that who wants to start building with AI but just feels intimidated, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I think what happened. So my friend I was just talking about, Todd, designer, he never coded before. He basically never designed like ever. He's actually always been more of like a high level like facilitator, and like I don't think even maybe like he's also like in his 40s. But he basically hasn't like been responsible for making a UI happen or coding or like making products happen. He helps people make the right decisions and leads teams that do this stuff. I taught him to code by having a 3-hour session of just sitting on. I've been telling him this forever. You got to quit Bose. You got to go back, go into software, not hardware, and you got to learn to code. It's easy. And so when he stopped working, it was 2 days in. I was like, okay, 3-hour schedule. Put 3 hours in your schedule, 9 a.m. to 12. And I got him set up with Claude Code. It was actually surprisingly harder than you think. So like as a developer, you're like, oh, you just install it. No, I got stuck in like SSH keys to use GitHub. Like the thing wasn't installing. I had to use terminals. It took probably an hour to get set up. So I think like maybe my short answer first is find a buddy to just literally help you set up. I don't think it's hard to ask a programmer, like, can you please like help me for an hour? Because you're going to keep getting stuck on like, I'm going to watch a video, but then you can be like, I don't know which video is the right video. And you're like, I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know what to ask. So just find a programmer and be like, can you teach me how to set up Claude Code? And make sure that the outcome of that meeting is you have made like an app within that hour. Because I think like in my case, it took about 3 hours, and which I think was what I scheduled. But actually by the time it was done, he was using Conductor with Claude Code installed. He actually made an app that made an AI version of his entire process. So he made AI himself by the end of 3 hours. And it was because I have been practicing all day to be like, to think about how to apply like the algorithm of like, what should because I make a product to help other people make products, right? So I think a lot about like, how do I make it so when people use my tool, they're successful, which means it's not always my product that's going to help people do that. It's going to be me, one person at a time, having that influence on them so that they like me and my product and my company, right? So for him, it was like, I have known you for 7 years now. I know what you're into. Let's take AI, because now you're an AI-ified designer type, and let's do whatever your favorite idea is via solving it with AI that was newly possible. And so by the time it was done, that was it. So I guess my lesson I think he's an archetype of what you're saying. There's all these people that are like him that, and in his case, he has all the context of knowing how to do politics and sell things and all these things that like a beginner doesn't have, but he didn't know how to code, right? And he's not just coding now. So now he's sitting around designing the things. He's like, he's now doing he's like the whole company of making things. He's not just programmer now. So I think my short answer is, yeah, definitely you should learn to use Claude Code, and you should start thinking about how to use Claude Code, not just for coding, but for everything. And I think the best way to do that is to, if you can, just ask a friend. Like literally even DM someone on Twitter if you like are a kid in Idaho and you don't know anyone or whatever. And people love earnest people that just ask for help. Like, I don't know, I personally, I don't know, but I do that all the time. Like I've had multiple times some 13-year-old who's just like, I saw a video you did, like teach me. And I've taught them, and it's gone on to influence their whole life. It's not hard to spend like an hour to change someone's entire life. People will help you, especially if you're young. People just like find young people incorrigible. You get to my age, people are like, why do you bother me, man? Don't you? I'm too busy to help you. But when you're young, people will just help you. I don't know if it's like a father figure and like youth trigger or something in people. Yeah. But people will help you for free, and they will feel good about doing it. It will literally make their day to feel valuable. And hopefully you can get back to them by appreciating them. And over time, you know, you're also going to grow into a beautiful tree, and they're going to get something back from it, even, you know, selfishly. So
absolutely,
that's enough, I guess. I don't know what to say on that.
No, that's great. That's great. That's I love that answer. That really is something important to keep in mind. All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
I had a quick thing to sorry, I joined, but yeah, thanks for joining the call, Francois. That was actually, I listened in, and I was like laughing and also agreeing, and I was like, this is really cool. So my internet's not that stable, so like I didn't want to like be on the call, but thanks for like joining. I was gonna ask, would you be interested in doing like a vibing tutorial? So I guess Pat can give you more context on what that platform is, but that's something I think could be useful. And then
I mean, I basically just plugged saying people should do that, so I don't know if I can say no. so I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, I'm just not the type of person that likes boiling things down. I'm like, you can see, gonna say things longer than it takes, all that. So I don't know if I'm like the right person to do that, but like, I guess say a little more what you want.
I'll let Pat give some context in a second, and then the other thing I would say is there were some random questions that I guess we didn't really talk about that much, but like I saw you contribute to like the Vercel browser cursor thing. That was interesting. I'm really curious what you think the use of that is as well. But
which part? You mean my funny cursors or just cursors in general?
Maybe both. But anyways, those are my two questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Do the vibing thing. I'll put the thing I'll put a note about if I can find the chatting feature. I'll put a note about.
I mean, I'd love to answer that question because I have thought. So this is why I got involved with that. Also, it's a good example of being clever with your time and doing high leverage stuff. So what was the? Tell me a little more.
Yeah, and then vibing. Yeah, feel free to like give an intro or like share Pat if you want to. And then I'm gonna listen on the stream again. But yeah, I put the cursor and Asian browser thing there if you want to ask after. But I'll talk to you guys. I'll see you later. Thank you, Francois.
Yeah, no problem. Later.
All right, let me give you just a quick, if I can figure out how to share my screen, new to Riverside here, demo of what we're building. Let's see. So yeah, well, a lot of the questions that I asked you were related to this audience in general, where we are trying to just make vibe coding, AI building just less intimidating. And one of the things that I've run into is just the pure inundation of information as a whole, where it's like, where do I look? Who do I trust? How do I learn this stuff? How do I keep up with the latest stuff? Because it's moving every single day. You have to be so on it. You almost need to be working part-time just in research.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of the goal with the platform, is reduce the intimidation factor, widen the breadth a little bit to different types of people that don't have any sort of like technical background. And the current iteration is a social platform, just a scrolling social platform. You can see all these different posts we're pulling in from YouTube, X, LinkedIn, all related to vibe coding. So it's kind of like vibe coding in one place. And we have all these other features like tools. So you can click in, you can click, Claude, OpenClaw, all the like latest there. And then we have, I think, Dammy.
Wait, sorry, what are you doing there? You mean this is to filter by people talking about those things? So, I mean,
Yes, exactly. So OpenClaw, for example, finding out what's the latest, what's the kind of the social component to OpenClaw, what people are talking about most recently, OpenClaw's updates, all that kind of stuff. And then I mean we have all these other features that we're building out and just kind of testing around. What Dammy was alluding to was tutorials, which is essentially a step-by-step click through. For example, what you're talking about with Claude Code, I ran into the same thing setting up Claude Code with a friend of mine where
it was way harder than you think. It was like
way harder. You don't remember. Yeah,
you would have walked away.
Yeah, you don't remember how long it took and how much troubleshooting with ChatGPT.
I mean, it depends too what they are, right? If they're coming in cold, I'm like, what's a GitHub? What's a CLI? What's a VS Code? What's a cursor? What? It's crazy. So like it's very intimidating for people. Like I told him though, I was like, it's not that hard. Like I know I've been doing it for like 30 years, so like you should be like, yeah, that's easy for you to say. I'm like, no. Don't let anyone make you think it's hard. It just seems scary, and you just need someone to hold your hand in the dark for like a little bit. And that's all it takes. So I think you need to find your spirit guide. That's a big one. It's just a human is a better interface to anything, especially obviously someone that's smart because they can ask you questions. I think a hard thing about reading other people's stuff is like no one writes well enough for you to be able to understand what they said. Like no one's content is high quality. So you basically read people's content and spend all day actually understanding what they meant, which takes expertise. So I mean that's my concern with like what you're showing here in a way. It's like this is a deluge of information. So like, if you want to solve a problem, it's like, how do you make it not a deluge of information? So like, so curation, if you're going to do anything, it's like, I want to see almost nothing. I want like one article. It's like how to get started with Claude Code. And it is constantly improved. It has never changed. It is like, let's call it, there's like 3 phases of Claude Code. How to learn to use Claude Code. The goal of that session is to be able to make one app and push it to GitHub. And that's the only thing. You just keep updating it to be the best way to do that. And then there's like how to deploy. What version? Like pick another thing. For each obviously common product, people don't have a choice sometimes. They want to use OpenCode or Codex for whatever, OpenClaw for another. But I think most people just want a really, really good singular reference to get past that hump. So I think you're certainly not helping beginners and intermediate in any way, unless you just give them like the one thing, which is what everyone's ultimately looking for. They just want that one thing that's going to help them. And especially if you look at like you're a funnel. So it's like people come on your network and they're going to be like, I didn't find the one thing, so they're going to leave. And so, you want that to be the impression if you're trying to solve for how to help people be, and like, so what's people incentives? So say I'm experienced, I'm on the other side of that. I'm like, don't have a problem getting to one. I'm now suffering from let's call it what senior people are suffering from, which is making the right thing, which is just like a lifetime struggle to do. You can't win at that. I mean, maybe there's some people that have never not made the right thing. Point them to me because I'd love to learn from them. I think maybe Steve Jobs, he didn't really fuck up too much. he did some bad ideas, like going off, whatever, losing a decade to weird shit. But I think that's my reaction to what I'm hearing you say you want to help with and what I'm seeing. Is that I need less, and this feels like Twitter, so I'm just on another Twitter. I'm like, great, you can mash Twitter and Reddit and everything back together, but great, you haven't solved the problem. You just made it. Yeah, you haven't solved any problem because that's just there's more of a feed than I can read anyway. So more feeds is just I can't even tell the difference between more places being put into a thing. It's more like, can you get a network that potentially has people benefit from sharing way better, like less writing that is canonical. Like and even better would be like I link someone to it. The next time someone else comes to it 3 months later, it is the better version, not that old one, because that's one problem with also knowledge networks is they just atrophy. So now people are like, which one's the right one? The new one or the old one? So I mean that's a whole thing about documentation theory, but
no, this is great, really, really great feedback. Yeah, I mean it's exactly what you're talking about, focusing on the objective, the philosophy, the core product as a whole, and working back from that, not necessarily. Yeah.
I mean, but the problem with what I just said, though, right, is like, if that's what you do, you come here and you get your like one canonical thing, then you're like, well, I don't need this anymore, and you leave, right? So there's that kind of like, what makes this a product that you keep going back to?
Sticky,
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, everything keeps moving. So like, I think there's like tech trees, and in a way, you always have to go up the tech tree. You can't skip. So I think sometimes there's like you know what I'm talking about from video games, where it's like you have to, like in this case, well, you need to know how to use a coding agent before you start worrying like, how do you orchestrate, or how do I like use OpenClaw, whatever. There's some things that are better just to learn first. But there's always like a new thing that's coming along to first learn, and then there's like to learn to get more out of it is like another phase of it. So there's always going to be new content, but if anyone could just make, again, easier said than done. This is literally the hardest thing ever. But I think that's a big part. Is just literally, can you make people reduce noise? Because that's what we're all looking for. Twitter, the algorithms, they're all fucking us. So I don't know. And so I guess the thing is like, and what's the social aspect on here? Mentoring is a big one. I think actually getting people to, unfortunately, like I said, it's better just to have a person walk you through it. That wins every time. And the reason why it wins, and this is maybe why tutorials are just archaic. Like you shouldn't be doing a tutorial. You should be like, one of the patterns I'm seeing really smart people do is that they give people a prompt. So like today you're going to learn to do blah. What you actually do is you open up Claude Code and you paste their prompt, and it's almost like it's like a cartridge from old video game days. Sort of like a one-off skill. So you as a teacher should be moving away from making people read things to making things that the person passes to their agent. So like there's a guy, Matt Pocock, he's like went from nothing to I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of dollars. He's known as like the TypeScript guy. So he teaches people TypeScript. He's pivoted like everybody to coding agents, still within the like how to use coding agents for web development. But his tutorials are now like, you know, you pay for them or you might get some subset, and it'll be like literally, okay, it's lesson 1, paste this, lesson 2, paste that.
Cool.
And it works so much better. It's way easier. And the other reason for that is, again, you don't have to read the thing, but it's because now you have an agent in the loop to make it so that you can ask questions, because that's the real problem with content, is that no one can write content that like pre-answers what one particular person is going to get confused by. So I think one thing that's going to lead to better content is, one, the content not being static. It's this like new type of smart content. So that's another potential direction that does not, let's call it, there's still a lot of alpha in that, is like sort of, I don't know what to call it, lessons 2.0, maybe 2.0 is not even cool anymore, 3.0, infinity, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're trying to, the problem I'm hearing you say, you're not solving it by doing this. If you want to make a network, that's a different goal. If you want to make a small network, a local focused network, I don't even have a comment on that. Like, good fucking luck on networks. Like, yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, like, sorry.
No, great. Just absolutely tremendous feedback. And yeah, I know we're way over. Thank you for extending your time. Is any closing thoughts? Anything else in your mind?
I mean, I guess my other one for my lessons with my company is just like, yeah, you have to be building the right thing, because you can't, like, you have to move as fast as the curve right now, right? Like, you make features and then they are now actually a generation back, right? Like, I spend a lot of time on making my own, I don't know, in the loop focused features, right? Like this year, probably at least for the next year, people are going to sit there watching the agent work, and they're going to keep giving it feedback every 30 seconds. But it's like, no, what ends up happening is like you wait 30 minutes before you actually check in on your agent, and you have a bunch of them going. The point is like predicting better where things are going, so that the features you make will actually still be relevant by the time you go out, is extremely hard. You need to not fuck up on what you build, and you actually have to predict forward the right amount. But I think, as far as I'm pretty sure, you can't possibly even have a thought that isn't possible. Like, finding a thought you have that you're like, this will be possible. I think there's a version of that works right now well enough to put to people. So I think there's this really challenging thing right now to not be obsolete at ship. So you should be stressing that. I mean, everyone's stressing that. And also, how are you not a feature? I think that's a big thing for us. It's like, how are you not just a feature? If your thing's so cool, it'll be in Codex like next month.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Really good.
Sorry, guys. The cursor, I forgot to bring that up again. The agent browser cursor. Why is that cool? Why
Yeah,
is that
so I just was involved with two so this is one awesome thing about open source. So agent browser, to reiterate for listeners, is just kind of becoming, I don't know, I could claim it's the best, but it's a well thought out CLI to give your agents the ability to, you know, browse for you, so they can like test your apps for you. They can do all that. What I'm using that for, or what are the two issues I had? My product, I want to make it like Decode or agent browser compatible. So when you use like agent browser with Decode, you can tell it, so in Decode you can put like a bunch of your apps on a board. I wanted it so that you could see it testing more things at once. So I actually asked for two things. I was like, you know, that one's actually too hard to explain, so we'll go to the other one. The other problem with the agents is that the default agent automation tools, they don't actually show a cursor. They don't show it at all. So all you see is like things changing. So you don't know if they press a button, because it happens very fast. The things are like doing it as fast as possible. So what you're doing when you watch a coding agent test is you're trying to be like, you're trying to just understand where it's at or what's not working. And so what you actually want is to make it actually understandable what it's testing. So all I did was feature request that they should add into agent browser, showing a visualization of the cursor that doesn't exist, like literally slow it down to make it go click, click. And when it types a keyboard, you can't see the keyboard, so you don't know if it hit a keyboard key. How are you going to know what it did? So like if you're automating like in Decode, there's shapes and you can command A to select everything. I wouldn't know it did that. It just, everything would be selected and it'd be like, did someone like grab, drag it, did whatever. So you should just show the keyboard on the screen. Effectively what I pitched is it should look like you're watching a Screen Studios recording as you watch the agent do it. The whole point of Screen Studios is to make using a product in a screen recording legible. So it's like, what are they doing? So that's why you zoom in so you can see what they clicked on. So the text is readable. The cursor's bigger so that you don't have to, like, because a small cursor on a high-res screen is like, it's like watching hockey if you don't know how to watch hockey. It's like, where the fuck's the puck? So simply speaking, you should just make what the agents are doing human-like or slow down, because you don't lose that much time for it to like take 500 milliseconds, because it's doing it automatically for you. You're saving hours of time. So that was just the ask, was I just proposed, because he asked, like, hey, is there anything we can do to improve? So I proposed it. I had a funny project where I basically was going to go build that. That's why I had it in my mind, was like, I would build that if I had time. So one of the things out there, if you have good ideas and you know a thing that can improve an open source project, just propose it, because someone might save you weeks of your life. So that's what I did. There's more funny stuff about that project. Like, link to my humongous cursors project, because I think it's hilarious, but that's funny.
Yeah, so you wanted a company to solve your own problem.
Well, and what he wants is to solve everyone's problem. So it's like, it's complementary, right? So obviously they're trying to make the agent browser that works for as many companies' products as possible. So I asked 2 feature requests, and one of them has landed, and I'm pretty sure this one's going to land. Because in Decode, we're going to be able to show like 18 screens at once of different screens. And what I want is to be able to see swarms testing. So you'll be able to see like one guy's testing here, one guy's testing here. So I actually had to ask for that, the ability to run agent browser to support testing multiple things simultaneously, concurrently, and also to show it. So now it won't be insane. What it would look like before that, it would just be like a bunch of flickering, because you wouldn't know what's happening. So now there'll be swarms of agents understandably testing things. And that's my interest in agent browser. I think the other thing too is I was going to build agent browser like functionality into my tool. That's my biggest takeaway this year, is I'm almost kicking out every feature, and our product is only going to do exactly what is unique about it. And then it's just going to be an MCP server and integrate with everything else. And that's the only way small people are going to survive.
Cool. Yeah. Really good point. Yeah. All right. That's a great way to end it. Thank you. Thank you again, Francois. We will, I'll send you, a recording of the interview. If we clip it or anything, I'll be sure to let you know. But yeah, thank you again for your time. This has been incredibly valuable for me, and I hope anyone else watching. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Cool. Yeah. Good luck with it. I think it's, we need help. Everyone needs help figure out what the hell
Everyone
to
needs
do
help.
now.
Yeah, and human help too, like you said.
It's still a better interface. It's just not free. All right, later.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you, Francois. Talk to you soon.